As you have just seen, our Did You Know segment featured several leading professional athletes of Native American heritage. But there is only one athlete considered to be the greatest in all the world. As there once was a song for every sport and game, we would like to begin our first award presentation in the honor of the late Jim Thorpe. Yes, please give him a hand for that. Let's take a look at this incredible athlete through courtesy footage provided by ESPN.
Could you imagine the day that there was no road, no radio, no television, no newspaper, nothing?
As long as you're a tribe, as long as you stick together, you're going to always be a tribe. But the minute you begin to differ, you begin to have differences, you're going to get weak. You're going to drop off one at a time. The most important in our lives is the Great Spirit.
By Indian tradition, when a child is born, sometimes the first thing that the mother sees became his name. In this case, the sun rising in the morning, a bright sun coming down a pathway, bright path.
More shadow than light fell on Jim Thorpe's childhood. At 10, his twin brother Charlie died of pneumonia. 4 years later, his mother died of blood poisoning. Lonely and without direction, Jim began to drift, becoming increasingly difficult for his sickly alcoholic father to manage.
We know that he had a childhood that must have been extremely unpleasant, with unemployment, alcoholism, death, poverty. It couldn't have been good.
His father, Hiram, wanted him to be educated, wanted him to be educated in the white man's ways.
In September of 1898, Jim was sent off to Haskell Indian Junior College in northeast Kansas.
The original intent of establishing that school was to get the Indians from the reservation and Americanize them.
He'd get them to the school, throw away your Indian clothes, give up your Indian name, give up your Indian religion, become a Christian, and have the Indian kind of bred out of you.
You're in conflict. They tried to take the Native American out of you. They tried to deculturalize you. And it was difficult. You were torn between two worlds. I'm half white, half Indian. Thorpe had Indian blood, non-Indian blood.
When he went to the first Indian school, he ran away. When he went to the second Indian school, he went away. He didn't like being put into regiment.
His life was spent bouncing back between a very disorganized and unpleasant family life and harsh institutional life. It was much more like out of a Charles Dickens novel than out of contemporary America.
His father finally called up Indian customs people that he knew and said, I can't manage my son, Jim Thorpe. You've got to do something with him.
In 1904, Jim was sent east to Carlisle, a federally funded all-Indian school in Pennsylvania, where he would meet his future, but not before being subjected to a harsh policy aimed at eradicating his Native American heritage.
Those are holding cells, dungeons. That's where they put the kids. The American people love Indians in a stand-back way. It's like a wolf. They love the wolf, but they're afraid of him. They fear him, and they kill him.
When the young Indian children first went to Carlisle Indian School, traditionally you had the long hair, and there were negotiations by the tribal leaders, don't cut our young men's hair. And by the time the buggies and the wagons drove off campus, they had the young Indian boys in the chair, and they were cutting their hair short. And that in itself was a violation of a person's manliness. I tend to think Jim Thorpe turned to sport, where you accepted on equal terms, and you learned to walk in two worlds with one spirit.
Thorpe caught the attention of Carlisle's legendary coach, Pop Warner, and was enlisted onto the track team, where his talent instantly made him a high school legend. In a track meet in 1909, Thorpe beat Lafayette almost single-handedly.
Dad participated in actually 7 events, and of the 7 events, he won 6 gold and 1 bronze.
If he wanted to do something athletically, he didn't need coaching, he needed just to kind of observe it. He would watch and he would stare and he would see how things happen, and then he could go out and do it himself.
With absolutely no preparation, no background, no training, no coaching. You know, he came off a reservation and just ran everybody ragged.
But it was on the football field that Thorpe's athletic genius elevated Carlisle, Pop Warner, and himself to national status as the Indians barnstormed across the collegiate gridiron. It began almost by accident.
He's walking by a football practice. He says, "Can I have a chance to run with the football, please?" And Warner says, "Okay, kid, I'll give you a chance." Hands him the football. Thorpe runs all the way down the field. The whole team tries to tackle him and can't. And there he is at the end in his street clothes with the field littered with would-be tacklers. And Warner says, "Oh my God, I've got this incredible football talent on my hands."
Over the summers of 1909 and 1910, the seeds of future disgrace were innocently sown when Thorpe played in the East Carolina Association, a ragtag ensemble of semi-pro baseball talent. Needless to say, Thorpe was impressive.
At one time or another, he played every position other than second base and catcher. He even pitched both ends of a doubleheader.
But in 1911, Thorpe was back playing football for Pop Warner as the Indians were tested against the best college teams in the nation. With each victory over a collegiate power, Thorpe's legend grew.
Harvard laid claim to the national championship when the Carlisle Indians beat them. Jim, with a badly swollen ankle, ran for 173 yards and kicked 4 field goals, the last being 48 yards to win the game 18-15.
Jim was out there punting, and somebody asked him for the step-around punt. Jim Thorpe got that ball from the center. He stepped his right foot back of the left foot and stepped, and I think that ball is still in orbit. I never saw a ball go as high and far so quickly in my life.
These guys would come charging in on Dad, and Dad would just drop the ball and kick anybody that was close to him. So he put some of these guys in the hospital, and he had such a bad reputation for that that nobody wanted to charge in on him.
He was doing athletic feats that nobody previously had done in a number of different sports. I really believe that Jim Thorpe was a physical mutation.
Mutation or not, Thorpe entered the 1912 Olympic trials in New York City. When he won 4 of 5 events in a new competition called the pentathlon, the American committee members had seen enough.
The Olympic official said, this is silly. We don't even need you to demonstrate how good you are. And so they sent him home. They never even conducted a trial, so he might be the only person in U.S. Olympic history to be named to the U.S. decathlon team on the basis of his reputation.
What lay ahead for Thorpe was world recognition in the Stockholm Games.
Tonight, please, yes. Tonight, we honor the late Jim Thorpe by presenting the Thorpe Sports Award, which will continue to be presented annually to professional athletes of Native American heritage. Please join me in welcoming the daughter of the late great athlete, Grace Thorpe.
Wasn't that beautiful? My goodness. You know, when you think about it, songs being written about you and statues and buildings and streets, it's unbelievable. I'm very proud to present this evening the award created in my dad's honor to an entire team that ranked 3rd in the world and whose ancestors created the sport that they are playing. I am pleased to present the Jim Thorpe Sports Award this year to the Iroquois Nationals.
Ladies and gentlemen, our national team.
Good to see you, Oren. He's been over talking to the King of Sweden about Dad for Athlete of the Century.
Thank you. Thank you, Grace. I want to thank the Native American Music Awards for making this possible, and Grace and the Jim Thorpe family for all that you've done. And I want to acknowledge the players who brought home the bronze this summer in Adelaide, Australia. All world, Mohawk, Lance Mitchell. High score for the Iroquois Nationals in Adelaide, Darby Paulus. Grundy Red Eye, All World, Defense, Onondaga Nation. All World, Position of Attack, Oneida Nation, Onondaga Father here. Drew Bucktooth. Premier player with the Iroquois Nationals, played since the first game, 1983. Scored most goals in Australia, in England, and also in Baltimore last year, Rex Lyons. Happens to be my son. Cam Bomberry, premier player, played in all 3 of our international matches, is what I call the man we depend on in the corner, the cannon, the hard shot. Cam Bomberry, Cayuga Nation. In 1983, when we first started, Wesley Patterson, who is our first executive director of the Iroquois Nationals, when we had, I think, 30 cents amongst us. And he's also still the carving all the lacrosse sticks. Tuscarora Nation, Wesley Patterson. And the man that we gave the work to, the man that had to go over there, keep the boys in line, keep them playing, the coach for the 1999 Bronze World Champions, Bossy Bucktooth. I just want to thank you and all the artists that are performing here tonight, and the Native American Music Awards for allowing us to be here, this great honor. And we're going to do our best, and when we win, you win. Thank you very much.
How about another hand for the Iroquois Nationals, huh? Give them up over here. Here to perform a very special Jim Thorpe tribute is NAMA nominee, singer-songwriter, Mr. Jack Gladstone, ladies and gentlemen.
From the stars a bright path came, leaving behind an infant boy. Oh, the waves of the plains an Indian sun did rise. From the clan of Black Hawk who hide the U.S. flag, they stole the sparkle from his spirit. Will they give it back to bright path? From the hills of Pennsylvania, Carlisle beckoned to the tribes, offering an education so they could survive. Jim Thorpe emerged from Bright Path shadow, leaving home behind. With his legs in tow, he ferried pigskins across the line on a bright path. On the battlefields of college, powerhouses came to play. Penn State, Syracuse, and Army there among the fray. Pop Warner led his Carlisle Redmen through the foes before. Through his line with flash and thunder, Katie barred the door for Bright Path. When the earth's call came for Olympians, Jim stood tall, proud to be chosen. The 10-event gold medal was placed upon his chest, our anthem played and U.S. flag unfurled. Sweden's king said, King Gustav V, he said, "Sir, you are the greatest. Yes, you're the greatest athlete in the world. You are the greatest athlete in the world." Back in school with fluid passion, one more season still to play. Jim and Pop's inspired Redmen blew their foes away. When the gridiron wars were settled, Carlisle whipped them all. Number one in the whole nation by the end of fall with Bright Path. But like a cold blade laid on a beating heart, plumes settled in and then tore apart. When news disclosed a teenage Jim was paid in summer leagues, they demanded back the medals he received. The letter read from the AAU, it said, "We regret that we allowed Jim Thorpe to compete. We must erase the record of his feats. Yes, we'll erase the record of his feet." As a twin sport pro, he traveled a superstar in perfect grace. Pro football's first star and founder, baseball's happy face. And with the century half over, AP took the vote. The greatest gritter and best athlete, wasn't even close, was Bright Path. In 53, Jim's path joined a brighter sky. To the stars he returned as his body died. 30 winters later, justice swung in toil. It troubled those whose consciences were soiled. His name restored. By 1984, in the Summer Games in Los Angeles, Jim Thorpe's medals were restored to his family and his records were restored to the books. From the stars a bright path came, leaving behind an infant boy. O'er the waves of the plains an Indian sun did rise. From the clan of Black Hawk who survived the U.S. wrath, they stole the sparkle from his spirit, finally gave it back to Bright Path. Everybody now, sing with me. To Bright Path. To Bright Path.
Thank you.